Well, CrossFitters are definitely going to CrossFit. I swear, anytime you see a grainy video with that like counter at the top, like the clock at the top, and it's just some CrossFitter and they're about to do something pretty heavy, you're going to see something happen. And it's going to be bad to the eyes. Now, some of you may have noticed that this is not where I usually do my videos. I recently moved in with a really good friend of mine, Chris Williamson. If you don't know who Chris Williamson is, you need to check out his podcast, Modern Wisdom. He's had on big time guests and his channel is absolutely exploding. But yeah, we moved into a nice little house in Austin and I'm just building out my studio. So now I'm using this thing back here. Chris, thank you for letting me use this. I don't think he even knows that I'm doing this. It was recently 4th of July.
Hello, boys!
And there's no better way to celebrate 4th of July than putting your entire family in danger of explosives. But if you're this guy, it just means putting your wrists in danger because you have a horrible front rack position. Comment here says, I don't think this video came out as cool as he had hoped. Yeah, well, maybe if he had a better front rack position, it would have. Maybe he was looking for a 4th of July post like this. To go back to 2014 again. You get to pick one. Start training 3 years earlier. Get perfect sleep for a year. Pick any training partner for a year. Pick any coach for a year. Now, my answer, and it's not even close. It's get perfect sleep for a year. I don't know if I've gotten perfect sleep 10 days out of the last 5 years. But I understand there's a decent amount of comments in this, or I got a bunch of DMs about this. People saying, either pick any coach for a year or start training 3 years earlier. And I understand that if where you're at in your lifting journey is like very early on, okay? But for me, it's like I have the skill. I don't need a coach to watch me move as far as my technique goes. I know how to program. I know how to create the environment I want most of the time for training. So for me, a coach would be more of like a psychological helper, some sort of a manager, where I'm trying to get on 1 kilo, 2 kilos onto my total very slowly. I have to be efficient with my time, someone to kind of cheer me on. That's where I would use a coach. As far as starting training 3 years earlier, this was another very common answer. Because a lot of people, a lot of millennials got into weightlifting specifically, and they got into it late. I started at 23 years old, and yeah, I would have liked to have started earlier, but only to help out my athletic performance. Because it's just, in general, I got stronger, more explosive, more athletic. And I think that would have helped me tremendously. But as far as like being good at weightlifting, having started earlier, I don't really see that. To me, the second best one is pick any training partner for a year. And I kind of got that. When I trained with Dylan Cooper, all of my lifts started going up because we were pushing each other. I couldn't have asked for a better training partner. And that made the biggest difference in my training, I would say, bar none. I was stuck at about 135 kilos snatch, maybe a little bit heavier, and 160 kilos clean and jerk. And then we started training together. We kind of did our own thing. We had our programming down and we just pushed each other in the gym, and we were just very positive, but aggressive. And yeah, I mean, for me, that is definitely second place. And in this episode of American Football Players showing unbelievable athletic prowess as it pertains to the sport of weightlifting, but doing it on the side of their sport, we have this lift. Okay, so not only does this kid have technique, but, you know, if you look at his morphology, he actually has shorter legs and a longer torso. So, like, this dude can squat a house, but he has amazing pulling power on top of that. So that's a deadly combo, right? Just like explosive pulling power, but also having the build to be a very functional and squatter, like just built to squat. He's got very good technique as well. Starting position's very good. Rack position's good. You know, this is a type of guy who I would see within the year breaking a 300 kilo total, because putting a snatch and a clean and jerk together within one meet, even though, you know, this right here, I think that's like 165, you know, all you would need is 135 kilo snatch to make a 300 total. I think within the year, though, 300 total is absolutely insane to think about. But it's not always like, oh, if you give time to this thing, you know, you're guaranteed this. But it definitely, the potential is there. So this absolute psychopath decided to do 50 minutes of snatching 315 pounds or 143 kilos. His name's Wall Street Weightlifter. He does a lot of stuff like this. And honestly, more power to him. I like this stuff. I think it's cool to be some sort of entertainment value, to create not just a movement with the barbell, like a la Sonny Webster doing crazy shit with the barbell, but doing workouts that are different from other people. They're not necessarily beneficial for peak optimal training, but it's just interesting and it's cool. One thing I will say is he posted a video on TikTok that went pretty viral. It was a 405 pound clean and jerk, I think 184 kilos. And what stuns me is the comment section of this. Well, mind you, that's huge. 184 kilos is huge. Okay, do not get me wrong. That's 99.99999 percentile of weightlifters, not just humans on Earth. But I just came from USA Weightlifting Nationals, and like if you're in the A session of a heavier category, let's say 89, like the high section of 89, and then every category above that, like you need to clean and jerk that much, right? So like. I'm not sure that this gentleman would do that well at USA Nationals if he did a 184 clean and jerk. And mind you, guys, competition is not a vacuum like training. Sometimes people have to take a lift, sit down for 15 minutes while a bunch of other lifters go back and forth and then go lift again. So it's not as easy as like equating this guy could be very good. But anyways, where I'm getting at here is that on TikTok, everyone is like, this is crazy. Oh, wow. I thought this was going to be a deadlift, but it ended up being a clean and jerk. Like, I think, again, we always forget that the general population has no clue what this sport is. And maybe they know a tiny, tiny thing about it, but they don't know that there's people out there like, say, Ryan Sester, clean and jerking 205 kilos at 102 kilos body weight. Like Nathan Damron, just absolutely demolishing the 89 kilo weight class. Like, people don't know those guys exist. They're never going to be viral because for some reason the algorithm doesn't really give a shit about them.
I am in Spain without the spin. What?
Had to have the daily grizzly upload. This gentleman coming up is doing a squat. Not a Zercher squat, this is a squat. Remember guys, elbow crease is the name. So if we're doing a Zercher deadlift, it's actually a deadlift. The deadlift in the hands, I don't really know what that's called. This next video I was sent a lot from a ton of different people. Let's check it out. Yeah. Technically, this is something that would be called a muscle, like a muscle variation. So what happens is your legs go from this bent position in the start, and then they extend once, and they do not rebend at all. Oddly enough, Wes Kitts, one of the better weightlifters in American history, comments, "This is wild." Look, I think when people see strength like this, they're automatically thinking, wow, what if we were able to get him some coaching? What would he be able to do? And I would point back to the football player that we just seen. In my opinion, I would rather have the football player. I don't know. There's something about, like, he already has technique. He already has understanding of getting underneath the barbell. No doubt, I think this guy could be very good. But again, he's going to be a super heavyweight. So in order to get to a 300 kilo total, like I'd said before, that's kind of where weightlifting gets really serious. And then beyond 300, if we're talking weightlifting in America, 330 is what you need to be kind of in that top category of guys. Once you start hitting that 330 thing, you're going to have to start moving into 350 up to 380. When you hit 350 to 380, your likelihood of making an international team goes up. Once you hit 380, you got to cross over to 400. And some guys are making it into the 500 kilo total. I can't even believe that we are talking about that, but Lasha is one of those guys that we're trying to get to a 500 kilo total, which is absolutely insane. There's so much work that needs to be done with this gentleman. Strength does not always carry over to athleticism or power. I just like calling it athleticism, but it's a very understated aspect of this sport. I think a lot of times people say, well, I'm just going to get my strength up, then I'm going to work on my technique. Or I'm going to work on my technique, then I'm going to get my strength up. When in reality, when you're starting, you can always work on both. And one is necessary to help the other. But there's this third aspect that people forget. It's the ability to compete. It's the ability to perform when asked to do so. And I talked about this before with the competing thing. You don't get to just lift when you want, how you want. The competition formats do not allow that. There is a ton of pressure to do things that you are not sure that you're capable of. What happens when you work on technique long enough is that you become, the movement becomes subconscious. It becomes something that you don't think about. And for many people who are the best, they don't really have to think too hard while they're lifting, and they'll beat their opponent. They don't even have to really go to that very special place, the unknown, to beat the people that they're lifting. However, if they're in international competition, they have to do special things that they're not sure they can do. And that's that athletic thing. It's the je ne sais quoi. Is that it? Je ne sais quoi? Anyways, it's that thing that you need. And that is a skill that needs to be developed at the same time as developing technique and strength. Obviously, this gentleman is incredibly strong. Not having to rebend his legs to get underneath the bar, that is crazy. But it's hard to say whether he will be good, in this vacuum that we've created. I think I have a little bit more belief in the University of Houston football player, but I spoke about that earlier. Anyways, that's the video for you guys. I hope you like the new background. I'm only going to be here for a few videos until my studio gets built out. Please subscribe. A lot of my videos lately are not going through. They're not getting pushed to you guys. So please subscribe so that we can make sure that thing happens. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.